Hey you guys, I'm super excited about today's episode because I'll be harvesting these root vegetables called Yacon, the purple yacon, and the Jerusalem artichoke, also known as sunchokes. So these have been long overdue for harvest, but over winter we've been getting a lot of rain, so I was trying to find the opportunity so that I can film to share this harvest with you guys. The purple yacon should have been harvested over, after the plant dies back. And as far as the sunchokes go, they actually don't need to be harvested until you're ready to eat them in SoCal, because we have such a mild winter here. They can continue growing or developing in the soil, but if you grow them in somewhere where you get a frost, then you would want to harvest them. So basically, once any of these plants, the Jerusalem artichokes or the yacons, or purple yacon is the variety that I'm growing, as long as the plant starts to, wilt a little, not looking good, like they're dying back, they're ready to be harvested. So these ones here, I already see that the crowns have sprouted already with the yacons here. So they're definitely ready for harvest. What I really love about these vegetables is that actually my first experience having yacon it wasn't really sweet. I purchased it, I think it was like in another state when I was traveling, and they weren't very sweet like they would call them as ground apples or ground pears, which is actually native to Peru, in the Andes kind of area in South America. So they do like more warm weather, but the reason I decided to grow them on the more shade side, which still gets some afternoon sun, but it's not in full shade, or it's not in full sun, because I've seen that a lot of people have success growing these in more like Northern California and the cooler places, such as in zone like 5 to 8 or something. So I thought I would give them a better chance by putting them against a wall here where it gets some relief from the sun sometime during the day. And with the sunchokes there, they actually don't mind it at all, because with the full sun, even in the dry kind of a climate here, we have such, even up to like 100-degree weather once in a while, like, a good number of days throughout this during the summertime. But the sunchokes are grown or native to the Americas, North America, Central America, so they can take more dry heat better than the yacon. Oh my gosh, there's actually more on the bottom. Oh, shoot, I broke that. I got so excited. Oh, I broke it. Okay, no shaking. Okay, here it is. Man, the soil is so wet from all the rain we've been getting. Just checking to make sure that I got everything. Check it out! Oh, broke off. This one broke too. So I'm just gonna put this in the dome and see if I can root this. So let me just gather all this soil back up, and we are going to be harvesting the other pot. So this is all from one plant. If you're able to grow this in a raised bed or more like a rectangular shaped container, it would be much better, because this container is actually not wide enough for them, because look, they're actually kind of crowded and curved with the pot. Yeah, so one of the the greatest things about these root vegetables is that they're not only delicious, because if you cure these, they're going to be much sweeter, and that's why they call them ground apples or ground pears. They're called ground apples for a reason, right? They actually would sweeten up if you cure them to eat. So when I was traveling one time, I purchased these in another state, and they didn't really impress me. The texture was nice. It kind of reminded me of like a jicama or something, but it wasn't very sweet, and I think that's because the farmers harvest it and then they sell them, so they haven't been cured. So I'm gonna have to cure these and get back to you guys on how these actually taste. They're supposed to be sweet and amazing. And as far as these, you know, the yacons and the sunchokes go, they're really good for, you know, your blood sugar. They have you know, they're basically a prebiotic, which is important for your health. It's not just probiotics that's good for your immune system and your gut bacteria, but the prebiotic actually is a food that feeds your good bacteria in your gut, which helps for your immunity health and your digestion. And they're really good for blood sugar, blood pressure, and they're really tasty. So let's get to harvesting the sunchoke. Just gonna put these back. Thank you guys. What I noticed about the yacons for me is that usually they say the sign of them to be ready to harvest is when they flower and start dying back. Well, for me, they actually never flowered, and they usually grow about between 3 to 5 feet tall or even higher, depends on, I guess, if you give them the optimal environment. For me, they're in part shade, and they were about 4 feet or 4 to 4.5 feet tall, but they never flowered for me. Eventually just kind of wilted away and died back once winter came. These things, actually, the leaves are edible. You can dry them to make tea with the yacon leaves, so it's really cool. I'm hoping that I'll get more plants growing this season so that I can have more that I can use the leaves and have more tubers to harvest. Let's do the sunchokes. Oh my goodness. Woo! So these are the dead parts. I mean, the sunchokes and the yacons don't do well in the cold at all. Once the weather gets cold enough, these plants will die off, and that's basically a good sign that winter's on its way. So, like I said, once these start dying back, they're ready to harvest. Alright, so here comes the sunchoke. Got some random tomatoes, volunteer tomatoes growing here. Hey you guys, sorry I'm gonna disturb you. Wow, and these ones also, the sunchokes, I only grew them out of one little sunchoke, and this entire pot is all of them came from just one plant, or I mean one of these roots. Look at that. This one's already starting to sprout. You can see the roots here, but they're pretty obvious. They're on the surface. Let's see. There we go. Wow. Oh my goodness. This is so cool. Alright, just let me keep harvesting these and I'll get back to you guys on this. They're such a good size. Look at these golden nuggets. Look at that. Here they are. You can see this is one of each plant. So in my experience, I would say this time that the Sunchokes definitely did a lot better for me. They are in general a much more hardier kind of a root vegetable to grow, and I would actually try both of them in full sun next time since I got more crowns from the Yacon that I can try out. I'm going to test them out in one in full sun and one in part shade again, but definitely I would have to find a space to dedicate them in a much larger, more rectangular shaped kind of space, like a planter raised bed or some sort of more rectangular shaped bed, so that's enough space for them to grow in. But as far as just a you know, like a diameter of a 10-gallon pot, I think I was probably like about a 15-inch diameter, was not cutting it for the Yacon. So yeah, if you're limited in space, I would say the sunchokes are definitely hardier to grow and more worthwhile to grow in a small garden. So I'm going to be storing these, or also called going through a process of curing, so that they would sweeten up for me. Especially with the Yacons, you want to, you know, keep them in a cool, dark place for a couple of weeks. Just like sweet potatoes, you do need to cure them to convert that starch into sugar for you. Otherwise, when you just dig them fresh off the ground and eat them, they're not going to be sweet or very sweet at all. And as far as the sunchokes go, it's going to be my first time curing these as well, because I usually dig them up and, you know, eat them right away, because living in SoCal, you can just store them in the earth and eat them whenever you like, right? But I read that when you cure the sunchokes, they would actually sweeten up too. So I'm going to try this out. Basically, I think even though the website suggested that you can store them in the refrigerator, the cold would actually sweeten up for you. Put them in a bag and put in the refrigerator. But I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to store them in a pot with some potting mix. You can do sand as well. Some people do use sand to store. Sunchokes tend to lose their moisture quite easily, so you want to keep that medium that you bury them in a little bit moist, not too wet, you know, but just a little bit moist, just to keep the moisture in, so these tubers don't lose the moisture that way. And I'm just going to store them in the garage, just buried, these basically buried, covered in a pot of potting mix, and keeping in the garage over the next couple of weeks as I eat them, and to see if they get any sweeter for me. So I'll be sure to make an updated video for you guys to see how this goes. And when you're storing these, any kind of tubers, if you're storing them, the best way to do it is actually not to clean them at all. You don't want to wash them. You just want to keep them as is, like that, and cure it. Just like the Yacons here, I'm not going to be washing them. I'm just going to just keep them in a dark, cool space to cure. And the sunchokes, I'm going to leave them as is, but buried in the soil and leaving it in the garage to cure. And I just want to show you guys, this is one that I've washed up. Basically, you want to cut away any kind of rotting parts so everything stays clean when you bury them to store. And then these eyes are what they actually would grow out of. So is the Yacon. Oh crap, I just broke. Oh my god, I hope it's okay. I sort of just broke the crown here, but this is the crown. It's edible, but it's kind of valuable. You want to be able to grow more plants out of these crowns, so I would not eat the Yacon crowns, but instead you eat the tubers, which is, I believe it's like a swelled up roots basically. So this one you would eat, and this one, these little purple little nugget things, would be the part you would take to propagate. So yeah, these ones here, since this sunchoke is already kind of rotting away, I thought I would try it out for you guys and just kind of compost this part. They're actually pretty sweet already. Not like super sweet, like I wouldn't say. It kind of has like a sweetness of a jicama. Not the sweetest jicama I've had, but it does have a good flavor. It's earthy. The texture is like jicama or like a water chestnut, I would say. So kind of firm, so crispy. You can hear that crunch in my mouth. You basically would treat these like you would cook potatoes. Some people bake them, do them stir fries, or I guess put them in soup or bake it with different things, or casserole. But I think that's kind of a waste, especially with me. I don't have a whole lot of them, and they have prebiotics, so I don't want to waste these sort of good benefits for my health. I'm just going to be eating them raw. Plus, I just think they're really tasty raw. I'll just be slicing these up and dip them in some sort of sauce or guacamole that I can make, or I can eat this as a snack just as is. And these ones have been through winter in the soil, so I think the cold did kind of somewhat converted this into tasting a little sweeter than usual. I did a video over at John Kohler's at Growing Your Greens, and we did a kale tasting test, and man, his kale and collards taste amazing. It tasted super sweet, sweeter than any kind of kale I've ever had. Especially me growing in SoCal, they're definitely less bitter. They're a little more sweet in the winter, but it's nothing like growing them where sometimes it hits in the mid-20s in the winter out there. So yeah, the cold really helps to sweeten things up. So yeah, this is so good, you guys. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining out here with me to do this harvest. It was so much fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Yeah, leave a comment down below if you guys have something to tell me or share with me the experience that you have growing these, or if you are thinking about growing them, let me know down below. And subscribe to this channel, share this video with your family and friends. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I do instant updates of my life, and I would highly encourage you to support me in my work. I do have some plants and seeds available over at wendyland.com that I can make available to you guys, so I'll leave the links of everything I just mentioned just below this video. Thank you all so much. Please stay well, healthy, and keep your spirit up. I'll see you right back here very soon. Bye.